So this is our new 5-inch basic field knife. We've made a lot of field knives over the years, and they're all pretty basic. But this is an experiment for us to make something that's actually not in our normal high-end semi-custom range, but it's actually a little bit more affordable for people that might want a knife that's not something they've got to feel like they need to take care of. Maybe it's a knife they put in their toolbox or their glove box. So compared to our standard offering, the original or our regular field knife is a little lighter. It's got things like the deep chamfer that we're known for, and the jimping on the thumb ramp, and a hidden lanyard hole. These are all features that are nice to have, but they're not must-haves. And so in order to make something that was maybe a little bit more affordable, we've made a variation of this knife that we skip the manufacturing step that we use, that is where we put the big chamfer on and do the jimping on the thumb ramp. And we also omitted the skeletonized tang and hidden lanyard hole. And so what that did was it allowed us to take 50 bucks out of the price of the knife. And because I'm not able to skeletonize the tang to get the balance point where I want it, which is between the first two fingers, I added a little bit to the blade length instead, so the balance point is still right. So the knife's a little heavier, but it's actually a little bigger, and it's $50 less expensive. So I think this is going to appeal to a lot of people that want to get some of this Delta heat treat optimized CPM 3V that they can justify beating on. So here's a nice knife for you folks that want something that's not an expensive piece that you feel like you need to take good care of. Like, this is a knife that will take anything that you can dish out, and it's something you don't have to feel bad about beating on. So this knife is sharpened at 20 degrees per side, which is actually where a lot of people run their kitchen knives. It's about 30/10 of an inch behind the edge, which is pretty thin for a knife that's designed to withstand an enormous amount of abuse. It's actually very thin for a heavy-duty knife. So we've got a knife that is able to it's a pretty good cutter, and it's able to cut because it has superior geometry, and we've achieved toughness through superior metallurgy and heat treat rather than just making it really thick. So it's a rough use utility knife that doesn't sacrifice cutting performance just to be durable. So it's a knife that, despite being pretty overbuilt, it still cuts pretty well. So it's not a kitchen knife, but it cuts reasonably well, especially for a heavy-duty knife, because the geometry behind the edge and the edge geometry itself is not overbuilt. And the reason we're able to achieve this kind of cutting performance without sacrificing the durability of the knife is through an enhanced heat treat, where we're not using the industry standard heat treat for CPM 3V, but are instead employing one of the low temperature tweaks called, ours is called the Delta protocol. But all of the low temperature tweaks are a variation of a relatively rapid quench, a quench to martensite finish, and no any kind of like a snap temper in between. So what we're doing is we're achieving the conversion of the austenite into martensite without relying on the secondary hardening hump. This reduces or eliminates your carbon lean martensite issue. It reduces the precipitation of secondary carbides, and it gives you a more homogeneous microstructure that is better suited for fine edge stability like you would see in a knife. The downsides are dimensional growth, like it grows from heat treat, which you wouldn't want in tool and die, but that's not something that we're concerned about. A happy side effect of this is actually more free chromium left in the steel, so it's semi-stainless, whereas CPM 3V has good corrosion resistance. This has even better corrosion resistance. It's almost stainless. But in order to demonstrate that we haven't created an issue with this type of heat treat, I always like to do a demonstration where we do a durability demonstration cut. Like the original field knives, this handle is designed with a rounded butt, and the shape in here is shaped such that you can hold this in a 3-finger grip and get a little bit of length on it. And it actually works pretty well as a small chopper, which is, it's not it's not a chopper, obviously. It's not a wood processing tool that you would use to cut down a tree. But if you've got, you know, camp chores and you need to cut some wood, this knife is more than capable of making your fire tinder or your tent stakes, because the geometry of the handle lends itself to a little bit of an extended reach like this, where the extra weight of the blade and the extra weight of this particular pattern actually helps you chop with it. So with the enhanced edge stability, you can do things like chop through wood, you can baton with it, and you're going to find that when you're done, your knife hasn't really appreciably dulled. So it's nice for a steel like this that's, you know, tough and abrasion resistant, and will tolerate, you know, things that would normally be considered pretty abusive. It's still going to be a good sharp knife when you're done. It doesn't go dull from edge roll. That is one hell of a knot. Keep rolling. Well, good demonstration that even sometimes when things don't go like you planned, what I'm trying to demonstrate here is that in normal camping use, applications where you're, you know, not taking good care of the edge, you're scraping stuff, you're beating on it with a hammer, you can do these things without suffering edge loss, because the enhanced edge stability, you don't get that rolled edge like 3V and other complex steels sometimes suffer when it's used in moderately hard use. But a true test is a piece of Osage orange. People have probably seen this particular piece of wood in the videos before, but this is very, very, very hard wood. You can't scratch it with your fingernail. This is well-aged Osage orange, and I don't know if you're familiar with Osage orange, but it is a hardwood. This isn't like oak or maple. And listen to this cut. That kind of a peeling cut where you're side loading it, and then we're going to maybe same area chop with it. That will wreck the edge on a lot of knives. But 3V with an optimized heat treat, it is unfazed. It's just as sharp as when I started. It's shaving hair. So to prove that our heat treat not only holds an edge better, but hasn't become fragile from this kind of modification to the heat treat, I always like to do some destructive cuts. And here's a particularly bad one. We're going to cut, maybe get in a little closer, unless you're afraid it's going to break and hit you. This is a 1/4 inch steel bolt. It's just a grade 2 bolt from Tractor Supply, just your regular 1/4 20 hex head cap screw. We're going to cut a steel bolt with this, and you'll see this knife is going to be just fine. Now in these videos, you'll see where what looks like edge damage, which is actually where the nail, or in this case a bolt, has rubbed onto the steel bevel. But I'm just going to do another cut test here to demonstrate that after going through a 1/4 20 bolt, not only is there no, it looks like edge damage in the video, but we'll stop it here and take a picture, but I just want to demonstrate it'll still cut paper without even hanging up on that spot. Well, it hangs up on that spot, but it's still quite sharp. So it can go through a steel bolt and it's almost unfazed. Now we're going to send it through some concrete, and it won't be unfazed after this, unfortunately. This is not a cinder block. This is 4 inches of solid concrete. It has granite aggregate, as you can see. So please don't do this to your knife. This is not necessarily a good use for your knife, but I want to demonstrate that with this heat treat that has been optimized for edge stability, it has not become brittle. You can actually chop through stuff like this, and you're going to get some damage, but it's going to be fine. Your knife's going to be, you can sharpen it and then put it back to use. Let's go tip first here. Shock to that. Ugh. Get out of there. Alright. I want you to zoom right in on that point, and you can see that not only did we not lose the point, any damage that you think you might see, that's actually just concrete that flakes right off. This tip is just fine. Let's pause here and we'll take a picture. I don't know why you would do this with a tool that you care about, but it's good to know that if whatever reason you had to, you can. There's no damage that goes up above the edge bevel. There's a little bitty chip right there, but you know, you've been through concrete. This will still cut cardboard. So, for whatever reason you needed to do that, you still have a knife that, I mean, it's not sharp. This is the area with the most damage, and the majority of that edge is still present. It still cuts.